We are officially in part 4 of this series, and I have to say, thank y'all for watching it. Thank y'all for even seeing the thumbnail or seeing the title and clicking on the series, because that's what motivates me to keep doing it. Actually, overall, I'm like, okay, people like seeing this. I did not expect any of those videos to do more than maybe 100 or 200 views. I was so surprised seeing that all 3 of them so far have hit they all hit over 1,000, or at least at 1,000 right now. So I have to say once again, thank y'all for watching it, and thank y'all for giving this channel a shot. But we're going to continue with part 4, and do not worry, it just took a little longer than I expected for the grappler video. I just need one more grappler, or I might stop at the number I'm at right now. But that video is going to be a little bit more in-depth on the characters themselves, so of course be ready and be hyped for that when it comes out. But let's get into part 4 of the cool, unique fighting game mechanics right now.
Sento greets you, Liu Kang. I do not fear its wielder. Both were forged in combat.
Liu Kang, Mortal Kombat X, Yin and Yang stance. So in Mortal Kombat X, there's these things called variations, which is 3 versions of a character that changes some of their strings and give them new special moves that the other versions of the character don't have. And we're talking about duality, which has a stance of Yin and Yang. It's not a typical stance in the way you would think. It's not going to change your normals or anything like that. Most of your strings, all that is the same. You just gain access to new special moves. Which one, like his Yin stance, is literally just his regular thing. Pretty much he has his same fireballs, it's just they're light now. Nothing special about those from what I can tell, really. But he can heal while he's in. He has a move where he literally just spins his arms around and he's healing the whole time, and you can dash cancel it. So you can heal a little bit while keeping up pressure, stuff like that. But then the Yang stance is where the unique stuff really kicks in. Yang stance has 2 things. He has a charge up, where if you decide to charge your level 3, you get a damage boost. Well, overall you get a damage boost. It's just the longer you charge it, you get more of a damage boost that lasts for a good amount of time, like probably like 15 to 20 seconds. And then, and he's straight up a brawler, so you already know you're going to be getting hit most likely. If you're fighting against Liu Kang, then you let him get going. Once he gets that set up, he's going to shred through you. But then on top of that, his fireball, his typical fireballs change. It's something that moves and doesn't do anything unless you activate it again. And once you activate it the second time, it literally just stops. The best way to describe what it does, it'll stop in place, and anybody that's near it starts taking damage, or if your opponent's near it, they'll start taking damage. And then after a certain amount of time, it'll detonate. And if you enhance it, it will literally just blow up. Like if you enhance it, it blows up damn near immediately, but it still does a little bit of that bleed effect. I feel like those 2 things combined and making them into stances was such a cool idea. Pretty much, you're either going to be healing or you're going to be damage boosting. Most likely, like the healing has its use, but the damage boost, obviously, you're better off hurting people, because you hurt people a lot faster in the game than you would heal normally. But the healing giving you dash cancel pressure is a cool idea. So Liu Kang had to be here. Jacko from Guilty Gear Strive Rev 2 with her minions. Now this is going to be kind of a lot to cover, but I'm going to give you a basic rundown of what makes her different than her Strive variant. Number 1, she has 6 minions on screen at a time instead of 3. The minions attack on their own, and they all have designated different things. One stabs you low, the other one's just a mid slash, and the one that flies waits for you to try to jump or go into the air, and it'll try to shoot you out the air. Or if you just get put in the air from being launched, anything like that. Anything that puts you airborne, it'll try to attack you there. Other than that, it doesn't do anything. So that's the minions covered for the most part, and their differences. Now the houses you seeing on screen is a little weird. She throws the houses down, that's where the minions come from. Instead of just immediately spawning them, you spawn houses. And over time, the houses will spawn minions. Each house spawns 2, and it brings a certain minion out. And then on top of that, the houses work like how she works in Strive with her minions in terms of picking them up. So you can pick up the house, run with it, or you can throw it at them, or you can put the house away. If you want to put the house away, that's just to heal it, because the enemies can destroy the houses so the minions can't spawn. So that's a really, really big thing about her, is protecting the houses, which she has another move to deal with that for. her organ. She can pull out, I think it's an organ piano, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what that thing is really. But she pulls this thing out, and there's 4 things it can do. Number 1, you can pretty much put all the houses away. And you would do that to protect it from getting hit by something crazy, so nothing dies. And then you can just respawn the houses later, and they'll keep what level they are. Because if I didn't mention that, the houses do level up from 1 to 3. And the higher the house's level is, the more power it does. Now the second thing she does with the organ is to detonate everything on screen. So she can detonate all 6 minions and the 3 houses, which can make a gigantic explosion that does a lot of damage or a lot of chip. But do know that that explosion then does affect you, so you have to block it too. Or you get hit by it, whatever you need. Now option 3 for Jacko is to put a barrier around herself, and when the barrier is up, I'm pretty sure it just blocks all projectiles coming through it. So those are the 3 main things, or the 3 things, but the main one is the minion buff. What the minion buff does is literally just makes them attack more frequently, except the flying ones, you know how they go. So yeah, it's weird because you're running off of AI. A lot of her combos rely on hoping the minions do what you need them to do at the perfect time. Of course, that's going to help with it, but, you know, she has a lot of other stuff. I can't talk about everything she has going on right now, because I'm trying to keep it to one mechanic, not the character itself. But if I didn't put Jacko on the list at some point, especially Rev 2 Jacko, y'all would have crucified me, and this is my favorite character in Guilty Gear anyway. So, well, my second favorite. So I had to put her on there. Gentle Criminal's Elasticity from My Heroes 1 Justice 2. So, Elasticity is his quirk, and this is so weird. I don't think I've seen something quite like it. So basically, he can place these things around the map. He places these little, pretty much bounce pads around the map, and you can bounce off of them yourself, obviously. You can place one that's a big one on the floor, and then if you decide to jump while you're staying on it, it launches you like 3-4 times as high as normal. Or you can spawn it with a hitbox, and if you spawn it with a hitbox, it'll launch you and your opponent up, which lets you loop combos with it. Or you can place it, there's ways if you place one, and then you can place an opponent between one bounce pad and the second one. They will bounce between the 2 of them back and forth, and you continue your combo afterwards. So it just looks ridiculous, honestly, a lot of times, because you'll be bouncing all over the screen. You can use it to set it up as a trap, as for set play, getting away from people, all that sort of stuff. And then he has an attack where he dashes and leaves one behind, which can also be quirk canceled, I guess you would call it. So you can cancel it into placing another one, so when you hit them, they'll spin into the one they get left behind. Then you'll bounce off the second one and bounce between the 2 back and forth, literally looking like when Sonic goes between 2 springs. And I was like, oh, I don't think I've seen anything quite like, I've seen stuff similar, I guess, but actually like that. The closest thing I can think of is Bang's nails, or if you don't know who Bang is from Blazblue, I guess you could say Grimnir, like wind sigil things. But I digress. I love this character already. He's like my favorite character to play in this game, even though he's not very good. But I can't say much else on him. Like, this segment's relatively short because that's kind of the extent of what makes him unique, is these bounce pads. And how you decide to use them is up to you. Like, he gives you a lot of creativity. But Gentle Criminal was going to be on this list just off of that alone. Like I said, One Justice 2 has a lot of unique ass characters. Captain Ginyu's body change from Dragon Ball FighterZ. Bruh. Captain Ginyu is such a cool character. So if you don't know, almost every character has some form of ki blast for their like base projectile. Instead of Captain Ginyu, he has the Ginyu Force, and all of them have 2 different attacks at a minimum each. Like Raccoon can do Raccoon Kick or do a Racer Gun. Guldo has a telekinesis thing, or he throws this freaking spike at you. Keep going, you know, everybody has their thing. But this is the weird thing about him. He has that, like the reason I'm even mentioning that is it's important for what we're going to talk about. His level 3 before they gave him a secondary one, which was just clearly on the fly, they didn't put no effort into it. Which, well, they put a little bit of effort obviously, because they had the whole team involved with it. but his actual level 3 is supposed to be obviously his claim to fame everybody knows him for. It was his body change. So when he swapped bodies with you, there's a few things that happened. First off, I didn't even know this until recently. I didn't know it swapped your health. I did not know when you use the body change, if you're getting used at 50% health and your opponent is at 100%, you would gain 100% once you become their character. And then they get a 50% health nerf to Ginyu, which is cool. But on top of that, once you body change, a secondary thing that happens is when they're Ginyu, they don't have access to the freaking Ginyu force. So pretty much you're playing a nerfed version of Ginyu. Ginyu's big thing is he's a heavy rush down character and puts a hell of a lot of pressure on you. And outside that, he's pretty mid. But giving him packs, like giving somebody a Ginyu without access to the Ginyu force is literally just the worst character in the game at that point. I can't lie, because his only like special move outside the Ginyu force is his what was it? Strong Jersey, the freaking tackle or the elbow. But I digress. Body changing is already a unique thing. You don't really get to swap with your opponent often. And then when you swap, you give them a nerfed version of your character. It's so sick. So Ginyu had to be here. I can't say much else about him. Body changing, and I think the idea of making it lore accurate with the Ginyu force, because of course they know he body changed. They're not gonna believe that that's not their captain. So I feel like that is so cool. So he's obviously here. Alright, last but not least, we have Izanami from the Blazblue series with floating. Now, you're going to probably be thinking, I've seen way too many characters float in these games. We can talk about Batista from Under Night and Birth as an example. But no. Izanami floating is completely different than any other character I've seen. If you played Brawlhalla, you know where this is. If you played Brawlhalla and Blazblue, you should know where this is going. But with freaking she does, the best way I want to describe what's going on with hers is she doesn't have a double jump like everybody else. Wherever she jumps is where she is. That's like she can't go any higher. But she can float to stop herself in place and move around while she's floating. No big deal. You've probably seen stuff like that too. Blue Beetle is a good example of a character that can jump and float and then like dash around a little bit. But the thing about Izanami is when she's in her float animation, she's considered grounded. So if you hit her, it will count her in the air, of course, if you hit her. But while she's in her float state, she literally has access to her grounded normals and grounded special moves. So if there's moves you need to use, and it'll like interact with them differently. So if you do a freaking teleport attack, she'll teleport to the ground instead of teleporting forward only. She teleports to the ground to do them. So theoretically, she has air lows, and having access to your grounded normals means you have access to a lot more options and way better combos. So she has little loops. Like, I don't know how to play this character, but she is potentially the hardest character in the game. Her or Carl, I don't know which one. But one of them two is definitely the hardest in the game. But she has so much going on just from being able to float. Like, if you can name me one, please do. But I can't think of a fighting game character specifically that has anything like this that lets you float, or lets you just have access to your grounded normals in midair. Also, if I remember correctly, while she's in her float state, she cannot block at all. But don't worry, she has ways to deal with that. I am not going to get into that right now, because that's a whole separate mechanic I'll talk about in a different video at some point. But I digress. That's going to be the end of the series. Izanami, of course, had to be here, and I put her at the end because her design's cool as fuck, the lore of the character is cool, and her gameplay is sick. But like I said, super difficult character. If y'all been enjoying this series, like, subscribe, all that shit, share it if you want other people to see it, all of that good stuff. But I did enjoy making this series, so don't get me wrong, I will be making more regardless. But that's going to be it for me right now. It's True Kingston, and we out.